What's up, everyone? How's it going? How's it going? This is the Conscious Chicano. How's everybody going? Welcome, people on my Instagram. I'm here also on YouTube. I know something's going on with my camera on YouTube. Looks a little weird, but I just gotta deal with it right now. I have to make, maybe fix it right after this video and everything. But anyways, I just wanted to come on here. This is Conscious Chat number 43. The topic is Indigenous Peoples Day, Palestine, and Christianity. Um, Usually I do like one topic, but I'm thinking now it's like maybe cover several topics in a discussion, maybe relate them as well. So, welcome to my Conscious Chat. And please read the intro below if you want to get a hold of me. I'm on Instagram. Send me a message. You want some links and resources there. I also have a Twitter account. I also have a Rumble channel, so I have a lot of uncensored videos on there. As you guys know, right here on YouTube, they censor a lot, so I have to be careful with some of the words I say and some of the topics I cover. So that's why you didn't see me using the Z word, the Z as in, you know, what's it called? The Israeli state, but you know what it is, the Z word. So I'm not too sure if they're actually gonna. They have an algorithm that'll censor you if you mention the Z word. Uh, but anyways, let me just go into the topic. And so, Indigenous Peoples Day. Let's deal with each topic one by one. Um, so yesterday was formerly known as Columbus Day, and for you guys who are not well versed in history, um, Columbus was a European colonizer, and he came and colonized the Americas, and led the pathway to colonization for Europeans to settle on these lands, actually invade these lands, commit genocide on the indigenous people of these lands, and settle on these lands, and also steal the land, the resources, and they pretty much did a lot of those. And in terms of Christianity, they also brought like a colonial form of Christianity. They justify them with false interpretations of the Bible, false theologies. As you guys know, I'm a Christian, but I believe in you know in authentic Christianity, exemplified by Jesus in his actions, his words, and everything. But I make a distinction between colonial Christianity and the type of Christianity that Jesus exemplified. And you'll see there's distinctions there. Colonial Christianity was, uh, a lot of it was white supremacist. A lot of it was, a lot of a lot of Europeans who claimed they were Christians, in my point of view, weren't true followers of Christ. Because if you're a true follower of Christ, you wouldn't be committing genocide, stealing land, doing all these atrocities in the name of God or Christianity, and that's not real Christianity. So they came and brought a false form of Christianity out here in the Americas, and they justified themselves, of of the land theft, the colonization. Um, they justify themselves. They made themselves kind of like they would try to use the Bible to falsely take it out of context and misapply. They call the natives, kind of like pagans that needed to be civilized, and and therefore it was justifiable to take their land, to commit genocide on them, and to enslave them. And this is not what Christ actually taught and preached whatsoever. And so Columbus, in my point of view, was a hypocrite. He was not a true Christian. And but you got Europeans these days still celebrating Columbus Day, having parades in his name. Like in New York, they have like a Italian Pride Columbus Day festival. You have secret societies in the Catholic Church. They call themselves Knights of Columbus and all that. You have places named after Columbus, and this colonizer, he would from what I've read in history, you could read like information on him in books like American Holocaust by David E. Stannard and a lot of other good history books. But um, he would pretty much enslave indigenous people, children, women, anybody that would he can use, for his profit, and I think there was one time when I was reading about Columbus. I think he would sharpen him and the Spaniards would see how sharp their swords were, and they would just test out if their swords were sharp enough to cut heads off. So they would go randomly and start cutting off, children's heads off and everything. Um, and there's actually people out here who are Columbus apologists. They try to say, "Oh no, it was the Spaniards who were brutal. It wasn't Columbus." But that's just covering up for Columbus. Columbus was involved in all that. He was involved in genocide and slavery and murder and land theft, trafficking children. You know, uh, he was all involved in that corruption. And to top it off, he claimed he was Christian. This is the hypocrisy, of colonial Christianity. Um, like I said, I'm a Christian, but there was, there's people who use Christianity as the Bible says, that the devil come as an angel of light, you know, and they come and distort the message of Christ, Um, so we have to, as right as honest Christians, we have to confront this and admit to this, and this is what's missing in Christianity. And but yeah, a lot of the Christians use false white supremacist theologies, the doctrine of discovery, was it manifest destiny? What else? There was some other ones. They use these doctrines, these false theologies, intertwined with white supremacy, and they basically claim that, oh, God gave them this land, and they were the chosen people, and God gave them this land and everything, and therefore it was okay to commit genocide and wipe the natives off this land, or push them into a reservation where they barely survive, and they justify enslaving them and doing all these crimes against humanity. And to this very day, the church doesn't talk about this. They sweep it under the rug, and they act like nothing ever happened like that. And so this needs to be confronted and admitted. You know, as you guys know, I'm into brown theology, kind of like liberation theology, contextual theology. You could be Chicano, Indigenous, and follow Christ and believe in God, but at the same time, you're not down with colonization, enslavement, crimes against humanity. You confront the history of colonialism, and you address it. Now, it's not to paint all of Christianity as bad and evil. It does have a dark history, just like a lot of other religions out here do. Um, but there's also positive aspects to Christianity as well. Many Christians who led, who were involved in the abolitionist movement. You know, um, fighting and getting rid of slavery. Fighting against slavery. Um, and even like speaking out against the inhumane behavior of the colonizers. And so there was actually in history righteous Christians who spoke out and stood up against the colonization, and nobody really talks about that. You can actually pick up a book. It's by Dr. Robert Romero. Um, he wrote a book called Brown Church, and it talks about that, a lot of that history. A lot of people don't know about. But besides that, and I was actually I attended a event. It was in East LA. It was amongst Chicanos, and Chicanos who identify as indigenous. It was a Indigenous Peoples Day. Um, it went well. It was pretty good. Reconnect with the community. I've been involved in that community for quite a while. I know a lot of people there. So, and there was a lot of good vendors there. Selling indigenous foods. They're into even what's it called? Trying to improve, their health. By eating healthier foods, serving indigenous, you know, um, drinks and food and all that. And they're into decolonization and reasserting themselves as native people, or even just acknowledging, just having that consciousness. It's not like we have to prove ourselves. We are indigenous. Um, but yeah, it was pretty cool. A lot of vendors, selling jewelry and clothing and food on the indigenous consciousness, and a lot of musicians. Um, and I saw, a lot of cool. There was actually a cool band called Indigenous Cats. They're pretty, man. I was like, wow, these guys are pretty good. I was really surprised there. Really good, good music. If you ever get a chance, check them out. Um, then I heard Zero. I know Zero. He actually made some good. Was it he said some good things right before he rapped. I was like, wow. He was mentioning, telling the Chicanos, the indigenous there, to to not be so, like, not to be scared and paranoid of a virus. And and he's basically telling them, don't let all that fear and propaganda get to you, and it's like don't let them manipulate you, So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, I'm glad that there's other brothers out there, you know, um, speaking out in the community and definitely talking about this. Sometimes I feel like I'm alone about talking about this issue, but I'm glad there's other ones out there, spreading the knowledge as well. And then the Quinto Soul went on. I was like, oh, okay, Quinto Soul. They're pretty cool too. I've they're kind of like Chicano reggae, indigenous cumbia, just different sounds. They actually have a really good song. It's on, I think it's artificial food or something like that, and and the lyrics just expose a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of artificial food out here, GMO. It's getting people sick and everything. So that's cool that people are becoming more health conscious and everything. Um, so definitely, we had a good time. Indigenous Peoples Day. Had a good time with the East LA community right there, Indigenous Chicano community, and yeah, it was a good day. And it was kind of like in support of Native pride, Native culture, Chicano pride, Chicano culture, and resistance towards colonialism, and even like Columbus Day. Because we all know that Columbus was a invader, a genocidal maniac, and enslaver, and all that, and child trafficker, and all that. So it's nothing to celebrate about that criminal, and definitely. So let's see here. So yeah, Columbus, man, he was really corrupt. But let's move on to the next topic, Palestine. Right now, this is a heated topic right there, and right now the mainstream media is, just focusing on, what, the I don't even like saying certain words now. It's like the H, which the group that's, that there's, I'll just say Palestinians for now. So there, recently there was some missiles that flew and hit, Israel and everything. Um, and people just look at that and just say, "Oh, these those Palestinians are, they're bad, and and they're, I don't even like using the word T, the T word, but it's just sad that we have so much censorship on these platforms. I can't even really speak my mind, but you know what they're calling the Palestinians, they make them look like evil, bad people and everything. And but everyone has to understand the context of Palestine and what has been happening there for a very long time. You got to even understand the history there. And I know a lot of Christians out here have bought you know, into the brainwash out here. And because I used to be brainwashed until I started digging into this subject even more deeply. So a lot of Christians think that that land is all Jewish land, right? That you know they go by the Old Testament, that's God gave them that land, the Jewish people, and therefore nobody else should live on there. It's all the Jewish people, and therefore it's justifiable to push off the Arabs and anybody else. off that land because it's just strictly Jewish land. This is the summary of what a lot of Christians think out here. They've been brainwashed to believe that. And and then we have also these type of Christians who use the so-called end times eschatology to basically justify their support of, you know, Israel and their atrocities towards the Palestinian people. It's just I'll usually they believe in the pre-trib rapture. These kind of people, they're what's called dispensationalists, and this is just false doctrine and false theology. and and I'm not saying all Christians think this way. There's actually some mainline Protestant Christians who don't buy into this, and they're in support of the Palestinians because they know that there's also Palestinian Christians there too who are being persecuted. Matter of fact, Palestine originally before the Zionist state. Oh, I said the Z word. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna say the Z word because let's see what happens. But before the Zionist state was established, there was people living there already, and there was Arabs who were Muslims. There was Arabs, Palestinian Arabs who were Christians. Many European Western Christians do not know that there has always been Palestinian Christians there. This is the hypocrisy. The media and all these institutions has brainwashed all these Christians to think that you know Palestine is just strictly Muslim, and that's not true. There are Muslims in Palestine, but there's other people who existed prior to the Zionist state, um, and they were Christian Palestinians. You have the Greek Orthodox Christian church around that area too, and there was there's Christians who are Greek Orthodox, and not only that, there's Palestinian Jews there too as well. So what's interesting is that after the establishment of the Zionist state, when European, Jews would go over there little by little, start taking the land, buying off the land, supported by uh, the Rothschilds. If you guys are into secret societies and all that, the Rothschilds are big time secret society. Um, they're highly involved in a lot of this kind of stuff. You know, global. The New World Order, secret societies, and all that. But uh, there was a lot of people involved in all this stuff. There's a group called Jews Against Zionism. They go into a lot of the history. How um, shoot, I don't even want to get censored here, but they say that the Germans at that time. I don't even want to say the N word. The Germans at that time who were who were committing atrocities towards the Jews during the Holocaust. Even that word, man, I got to be careful. Um, a lot of the Germans that were um, committing atrocities towards the Jews in the Holocaust, where there was something going on where some of the officers, um, you would think they were Germans, but there was also officers who were Jewish who were leading other Jews into the concentration camps. And there's a group called Jews Against Zionism, and they mention this, and they say that there's been Zionists from the beginning who worked with the Germans, and they were basically there in cahoots with them, and it was actually the Germans at that time who helped establish the Zionist state of Israel. And it was not just them, though, it was the British as well, and eventually the United States, too. Um, and you got to know the history because, in Palestine, before Zionism was established, there was Palestinian Christians there, Palestinian Muslims, and even Palestinian Jews there, you know, and they lived amongst each other, and they weren't warring with each other, and they were actually getting along with each other, living, as neighbors, and those communities were, they weren't, you know, at odds with each other as now you have a Zionist settlers that came in from Europe, established themselves, started stealing the land, pushing the Palestinian farmers off their land. Little by little, started increasing the population there, and little by little started getting support from the Britain, and getting all gain support in terms of military, United States as well, and eventually started pushing off the native Palestinians off their land, and they started pushing them off and killing them and kidnapping them. To this very day, they still do it. They kill a lot of Palestinians, and they commit genocide on them, and they kidnap them too. I remember there was videos floating around that there's a lot of Zionist soldiers kidnapping children and women and the elderly, and they're never to be found. And the saying is that they end up being, um, they either in prison or they are killed, and also they harvest their organs too. And also there's sex trafficking happening as well. And they've been pretty much pushing the Palestinians off in the corner, kind of like concentration camps. And they've been doing this for many years, and they pretty much took over most of Palestine already. And so when the Palestinians defend themselves against these terrible conditions, these genocidal concentration camp type conditions, and but then when they defend themselves, then the whole media depicts them as the aggressors, as the bad guys, and this feeds into the whole anti-Palestine, um, sentiment and thinking, and then what happens is the whole West rallies, in support of the Zionist state, and um, and what happens too is that you got Christians rallying up all over social media, all these Republicans out here and Democrats. It's not just Republicans that are that are Zionists. You got Democrats that are Zionists, Christian Zionists out here. They get all rallied up, and they're in support, and they say Israel's defending themselves when in fact they're bombing, they're bombing Palestinians. They have highly superior weaponry, that's been given to them by the United States, and they use this against the Palestinians, and then a lot of our taxpayer money is going to support the Zionist state in committing genocide on the Palestinian people and taking their land, and that's what's happening out here. And then you got these Christians out here who use the Bible and say, "Oh, these are the end times. These are the end times," and you know, and it's just a lot of false Bible interpretation, and it also, it started also with some guys named Darby and Schofield. They were actually Zionists. And they were part of secret societies, and they infiltrated Christianity with their Bible institutes, and even they had like a Bible too, where they would twist scripture around and put words in the margins to try to reinterpret the Bible where it supports Zionism. And so this is how a lot of Christians have been indoctrinated by Zionism and fooled by them. And this has just been recent. Um, prior to actually the early what they call church fathers, early Christianity, Protestant Christianity, um, they they were not Zionists, and they did not believe in the pre-trib rapture either. So it's just actually a recent phenomenon, you know. Um, and what's interesting is the Jews against Zionism say that there's no Old Testament, um, support of a Zionist state. And he says they basically say the state of Israel was never meant to be created by the hands of men, you know, and what they say is the New Jerusalem is going to be established by God, not by man. So you got these people out here, waging, committing acts of crimes against humanity, genocide, slavery, murder, land theft, and it's not even supported by scripture, and so we have a lot of corruption in this Christian Zionism. Um, but it's interesting. There's a lot of things that is corrupt. And we need to expose and talk about this. And I know there's some Christians out here listening to this video and everything. You have to really have some compassion. If you're a true follower of Christ, that means you got to walk in love, peace, compassion, right? Love your enemy. What happened to that? Blessed are the peacemakers, right? What happened to all that? But yet you're over here supporting an Israeli state, a corrupt state that not only anti-Christian. Israel's very anti-Christian. They ban Christians in Israel. They promote the whole, non-binary stuff. They're one of the biggest nations to promote that non-binary stuff. Bigger population than San Francisco, and a lot of these Zionists are even atheists. Or you got some of these religious Zionists who are into the Kabbalah, which is which is the occult that they learned from Babylon, right? And so this is what you support, you Christians out here. You guys blindly support a Zionist corrupt state. And what happened, like in the Bible mentions that the Antichrist is going to be down there. And you're going to be supporting that, right? Blindly supporting that. I don't want to get into a lot of stuff, but a lot of times when you talk about this, they they accuse you of being anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Semitism. Matter of fact, there's actually there's Jewish people speaking out against the Zionist state, and you hardly hear about that. Many Christians don't even know about that. There's Jews that are even persecuted in the state of Israel for standing up against the corruption of the Zionist state, and that needs to be known as well, you know. And but hardly any Christians even know about this. They've been blinded by the Western media, blinded by the Western media, by these false preachers and false teachers, these Zionist preachers and Zionist teachers out here. Even these was it these Bible prophecy guys, big time Zionists, you know. If you really want to hear some good Bible prophecy, listen to a guy named Tex Mars. He's really good on it. I've been following him for quite a while. He passed away, but really good. He exposes a lot of stuff, and he doesn't sugarcoat and cover up things and everything. He talks about the end times and the new world order and a lot of things, you know. But he does expose even the Zionist involvement in the New World Order. It's going to be a global New World Order. It's not just going to be Israel, but every nation involved in this New World Order, including the United States. A lot of Christians think, oh no, the United States, they're not going to be involved in all that. Oh, yes, they're going to be involved in that New World Order, that Antichrist system. And so, yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of deception and corruption in Christianity, and this needs to be confronted by authentic Christians out here who believe in Christ and follow God, and expose, the works of the enemy out here. So definitely, if you're a true Christian, a true follower of Christ, you're going to have compassion, and you're going to have concern for the Palestinians and what is happening to them. Just like Jesus, he was he wasn't all about the Jews, right? There's some Hebrew Israelites out here who claim that Jesus just came for the Jews and that's it. That's not true. Actually, if you look at his actions, he healed even Gentiles, fed the multitudes, both Jews and Gentiles. He came to save that which was lost, and he loved even people who were considered Gentiles. He had compassion. He healed them. He fed, had them fed, and just different things like that. So we have a lot of these Pharisees out here, and these religious corrupt people cloaking themselves in Christianity and trying to justify evil actions and evil acts towards other people and everything. So that's a problem out here. But anyways, definitely speak out against what's happening. Expose it. There's people out here. I see them on social media saying, "Oh, I'm neutral. I don't support Israel or Palestine," or they're just religious wars, right? Just religious wars. I could care less about religion. To me, that neutral position is just a cop out. You know, if you really care about humanity and what's happening out here, you'll speak out against the corruption and what's happening, the crimes against humanity, the genocide, the land theft, the sex trafficking, the organ harvesting. You know, you'll speak out against all that. And yeah, it's time for people to, enough is enough, and yeah, there's the powers that be are very powerful. They have all this military armament and technology, and they're very powerful. I guess the best thing that for people to do is, speak out against this. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of protests because I see a lot of protests in support of Palestine, and it's just definitely support the cause and everything. Um, and also, you also have compassion and sympathy too towards even even the civilians of the Jews too that have been killed as well, which is not a lot. In comparison to Palestinians, there's been every time a Palestinian defends itself, you know you can expect Israel to do even more than what the Palestinians have done in self-defense. And you could see that the Zionist state commits more genocide than anything else. It's that on the Palestinians. But at the same time, we got to care about life, and we also got to basically promote peace, and cease for peace in some sense. Um, but there's also the Antichrist that's going to come along and going to try to bring peace, but he's going to deceive the world. So I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is just, I guess it's like there is, we got to also promote that the Palestinians, get their land back, you know, and it's a difficult situation. I even compare it to even what happened to the natives here in the Americas. You got the Europeans that came to, those natives that lived here originally in the Americas, and then you got these Europeans who came and committed genocide and took their land, enslaved the natives, and pushed them off on a reservation, right? Now you got a bunch of Europeans in the Americas, and it's like, okay, um, now it's like you got these settlers who already established themselves and they became powerful and everything. So what do Native Americans have to do, right? It's all about the land, right? Obviously, the Europeans are not going to leave the land because this is their wealth and resources, right? And they'll even fight you before they even like leave this land, right? And natives are not as powerful in terms of weaponry and all that. They can't defend themselves against a huge military and everything. So they, in a sense, got to deal with the settler colonialism. You know, the best thing they can do is preserve their culture and resist colonialism as much as possible. Um, and I kind of see the Palestinians are almost having to deal with that as well because there's so many settler Euro Zionists down there who weren't even originally there in the first place, and they pushed off a lot of Palestinians and off their land and established themselves and established a powerful military and government there, a racist government too. To top it off, it's amazing that this stuff even still exists in modern times, right? Where you have a Zionist state that's not. They claim they're about democracy, but they're not. They don't let anybody else participate and have status, especially Palestinians, in their Zionist state, and they're like second class citizens, and And so there's no true democracy in the Zionist state. It's a racist, you can call a racist apartheid state, and and the fact that there's still genocide and colonialism, and people being pushed off into a little section of land is still happening. And we supposedly have the UN and all these international, supposedly international organizations that are supposed to police the situation, but they don't do nothing. They support Israel and its genocide of Palestinians and land theft. It just tells you the international community is corrupt to the core, and they could care less. It was just there to establish themselves as a world power to dominate the weaker nations out here, to exploit them, to conquer them, and they bully weaker nations out here. And if you're you know, and nothing's even done. So this is the international community out here that we have out here. It's very corrupt. It's white supremacist. It's Western, and that's what they do out here. Well, it's unfortunate that this even exists to this very day, and we're supposedly modern societies, right? We're supposedly civilized, right? But this is still happening to this very day, and nothing is done about it. And it's just this evil corruption that exists in this world, and it's just unfortunate what's happening. But yeah, colonization is still happening, still, continuing. In my point of view, a lot of it started with Columbus, and the Europeans took over all these lands, and the Europeans established themselves with all this resources and power, and they built their empire to become a superpower. And then they go and establish other nations, kind of like, the United States actually even um, they have a reason why they even support Zionist Israel, is because they want to have control over the Middle East, over, it's just kind of like Israel is kind of like, it's the whole Western world and everything. Some say Israel is using the Western world too. Yeah, they use them, um, to fight for them and all that. Just like they use the British, the United States. They're kind of, they play the victim, but they use, bullies out there. They kind of bully other nations and other peoples, and they claim they're the victim all the time. But then it's like they go and commit atrocities towards other people and victimize other people. It's like, you know, there's even a Jewish scholar who came out and spoke out against Zionism, and he says, you know, we should have learned from the Holocaust. Why is the state of Israel committing, genocide on the Palestinian people? We should know better. And this is coming from a Jewish professor and scholar. So, like I said, this is not anti-Semitism. There's actually Jews who are speaking out against the atrocities of the Zionist state, and they're also persecuted. And not every Christian is in alignment with Christian Zionism. You have people like me and other Christians who speak out against Zionism and say it's a false doctrine, it's a deception, and it's deceiving a lot of Christians out here. So it's time to people to start waking up and get yourself educated on the issue, you know. And if you want to learn more about the history and all that, I actually have a Rumble account, and the link is below in the description. Go click on it. And I recently uploaded a lot of good videos on the whole history of what the context of what is happening there. And yeah, there's some good channels out there and some good documentaries exposing the whole situation. Um, Actually, there's a good talk by the Gray Zone, uh, Gray Zone, Gray Zone, Zone, like all together. Look them up. They're on YouTube and Rumble. The Gray Zone. They're really good on exposing Zionism. And Max Blumenthal, he's himself a Jewish person, and he's exposing Zionism, and he speaks out against the atrocities of of what's going on, what's happening to the Palestinians. Even go on Twitter. I think it's I forgot the name, but it's Torah something like that. There's like Jews against Zionism. They're always tweeting good stuff, and you actually can go to my link on my Twitter account, Conscious Chicano, it's below in the description, and go to my profile, and I retweet a lot of the Jews against Zionism tweets, and they're just exposing a lot of stuff, and they're pretty good. Also, Abby Martin from she used to be part of Empire Files. Not too sure if she's still part of them, but she really exposes a lot of what's going on down there. With the Zionist state and the persecution of the Palestinians. She's really good on that too, as well. Um, yeah, and also on my Rumble account, there's a four part documentary series called Al Nakba, the Palestinian catastrophe. Go check out all those four videos. It goes into the history. Um, it's really good on how even the Zionist state was established, and this corruption and this and that. It's really good. I also uploaded some other ones. What is it called? There's also some video on there. It's by this Gray Zone. It's titled "Killing Gaza," and that one's a really good one as well. And recently, also the whole Jimmy Dore show with what's his name, Pasta. He's part of the Convo Couch. He Yeah, actually yesterday he made a good video. He actually interviewed a Jewish professor who really drops knowledge exposing Zionism and what is happening to the Palestinians. It goes into a lot of information, so go check that out. Go type up the Jimmy Dore show and go and check out that video right there. Um, but definitely, and I also have a lot of other videos on my Rumble account. Just search through there. Um, Videos by Pastor First and um, Pastor and Prophecy Teacher Tex Mars, and there's some other ones. Really good information exposing dispensationalism, pre-trib rapture, Zionism, um, you know, and oh, there's even the guy named the Bible Answer Man. He's really good. He really speaks. He exposes Zionism and what the Zionists are doing to the Palestinians. And what I like about him is he talks. He highlights the existence of Palestinian Christians too, because it's not only the Jews against Zionism or even the Palestinian Jews who who challenge, the common perception of Palestinians, but it's also Christian Palestinians as well. Um, and the existence of Christian Palestinians, that's very interesting because Christians in their own thinking think, oh, all Palestinians are Muslims, therefore it's justifiable to take the land and, 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 you know, and, and it's just to give a green light for the Zionist state to do whatever it wants to um, Palestine. But if you're a true Christian, you're going to be concerned because there's also Palestinian Christians being persecuted as well, you know. And yeah, and what's I also want to go into also how even politicians out here is you have these conspiracy guys out here, the anti-jab people who jump on the Zionist bandwagon. Not all of them though. I know David Icke is against Zionism. He speaks out against it. True News. Oh, go to Rick Wiles too. TrueNews.com. I think he speaks out against Zionism, and he's been exposing the corruption of the New World Order and a lot of things like that. But he's really good as well. Um, but you got some of these Trumpers out here jumping on the Zionist bandwagon, and we all know that what's his name, that Kushner guy, Trump's, he's, Kushner and Trump, like they're big time Zionists, and most politicians are Zionists, you know. They say you can't even become president unless you're a Zionist, right? And we saw all the hypocrisy of supposedly, I mean, obviously the Trumpers are Zionists and everything. It's just unfortunate that they've been deceived by the Zionist Republicans out here. But we also have Democrats who are Zionists too, and you would think, oh, these people are for the people and this and that. They're in support of the Zionist apartheid. They're in support of Palestinian genocide, and you got, you know, we were surprised. Like I know Greg Pasta from the Jimmy Dore Convo Couch, um, discussion yesterday highlighted that even Tulsi Gabbard, was she made a tweet in support of Zionist Israel, the Zionist state. It doesn't surprise me though. She's a military person, so most military people are brainwashed by Zionism. So it doesn't surprise me. But then you got people like RFK Jr. who are good on many issues, good on many issues, but he lost a lot of, I think a lot of his supporters are like now they're not, they're not too happy on how he just tweeted recently that that he wants to basically give a green light to Zionist Israel if he becomes president. And so it's just unfortunate. A lot of people who supported him on the jab issues and environmentalism and all that, and his challenge of the Democratic establishment, are now disappointed, even after he announced that he's leaving, the Democrats and going independent. But he disappointed a lot of his following by saying that he, as president, he'll basically give Zionist the Zionist state a green light to do whatever it wants, basically, to the Palestinians. I'm just paraphrasing that. It's not exact quotes, but very disappointing. And it's just unfortunate that you have even these people who who are even challenging both the Republican and Democrat establishment, they still buy into Zionism. It's crazy. And the problem is, like, if you speak out against Zionism, they equate that to being hateful, right, or anti Semitic, and that's not what we're all about. Like I said, is there's Jews against Zionism, and Zionism, and not all Jewish people are in support of Zionism. Um, so so definitely, I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. Just to let you know, I'm on YouTube. Um, Definitely. So, anyways, but just be aware of these issues, and definitely, you know, um, it's important to know the history of this, the context of this, and not to be deceived and misled. Anyways, well, I guess I'm going to end it here. So don't forget to read my description below. Um, Connect with me on my other links as well. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Send me a message if you want some more material, more information, videos, lectures, books on this subject. And also go to my Rumble account, and you'll see a lot of good info, a lot of videos on that. But anyways, don't be deceived. I just covered Indigenous Peoples Day, Palestine, and Christianity, and you know, it's important to, as Indigenous people, Chicano people, to decolonize, not to support corrupt governments out here, especially these colonial governments out here, and especially these governments that are committing atrocities towards people, indigenous people throughout the world. I know a lot of the people in the Chicano indigenous community say, "Oh, it's not my concern." As long as it's not indigenous people of the Americas, it's not their concern. But I think we should also be concerned about corruption throughout the world, especially when there's governments committing genocide and atrocities towards people around the world. Um, so definitely, Indigenous Peoples Day was a form of protest and resistance towards the colonial powers and the corruption, and and it's important to know, what's happening with the Palestinians, and speak out against what's happening to them and the atrocities committed against them. And also, Christianity needs to be, you know, the corruption in Christianity needs to be exposed as well, because there's a lot of Christians who are falling into this deception and this mindset, and they're not too educated on this whole issue, and they listen to false Bible prophecy teachers and pastors, pretty much indoctrinating them with false information. Anyways, well, definitely, I got to get going. So have a good day. This is the Conscious Chicano, and don't be woke, be conscious. See you guys next time.